You're listening to the Business Marketing Show, episode number 2. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com. Morning everyone, this is Ed K. Smith from onlineimpact.com and I have my co-host Brendan Tully from the searchengineshop.com. How are you, Brendan?
I'm good, Ed. It's Monday today, so start of a new week.
Yes, we typically will record our podcasts on a Friday, but things happen sometimes, and here we are doing it on a Monday. So how was your weekend? We can talk about weekends.
My weekend was good. We spent the day yesterday driving around on the motorbike, exploring. We found a new beach, and it was just kind of a nice day in the sun. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Yesterday was a mixture of things. We went down the beach, had a bit of a walk along the beach, did some house cleaning, went out for coffee, did a little bit of work. So, mixture of things.
Cool, man.
Very, very cool. So today, Mr. Brendan, we are going to talk about some tools that people can use in their online business or in their business in general, but typically these will be more useful if you have an online presence, but they are useful all the same regardless. So some of the things we'll be covering today and some of the tools will be Dropbox, Skype, Evernote, and what were the others?
I've got the list broken into two. So I've got 3, because these are kind of like our foundation episodes, right? So we have lots of quick wins and things that people should be doing.
Yep.
So we've got 3 essentials: Dropbox, Skype, Evernote, like you've said, and then 3. Well, I've got here high end, but they're not really high end tools, but they're tools that people don't know about that are kind of game changer tools. So I've got Shoeboxed for basically like digital paperless office. I've got TripIt for managing travel, and then I've got Google Apps, not just for email, but for, I guess, more traditional business would call it intranet. So those are the 6 we have to talk about, I guess, today. So do you want to kick off? So we've got Dropbox first on the list.
Yeah, so Dropbox is a cloud storage or data storage tool or service. It's very, very good if you have large files that you need to store offline as maybe a backup, or if you're sharing them with someone else and the file's too big to send over email. And typically with most email clients, sending anything over sort of between 10 and 20 megabytes as an attachment is too big. So Dropbox enables you to share much bigger files than that, and it's free. I think from memory, the first 2 gigabytes of data storage are free with the free account, or included with the free account, I should say, and then you can pay for different levels of data from there. But yeah, good tool. I think we've been using it for at least probably 4 or 5 years now. Yeah,
I think so. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, right? Like it's like a network drive, except it's a cloud network drive. Because I know a lot of companies, when you send big emails that don't work with big attachments, they typically use, or in the past, a lot of people have used usendit.com.
Yeah.
And so Dropbox can do that. If you're a small business, you can kind of replace, like a small business with 5 staff might have a server sitting in the corner that needs to be replaced every few years. Using a combination of Dropbox and Google Apps for email, you could totally get rid of that server and just have everything run off the cloud. So in my business, we have 6 staff in the search engine shop, and nobody's in the same location. So we use Dropbox as our network drive, and everything, all our files go through Dropbox. It's all stored on there. It gets backed up. So we actually have a service that backs up Dropbox, because with anything cloud, it should be backed up. So yeah, man, it's awesome, and it's free, like you said, for up to 2 gig. I think you can get up to 18 gig free if you refer your friends.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
something like that. And even still, like we have the paid account. I think for all of us, for our whole company, I think we pay $200 or $300 a year for the paid account. So if I comparing that cost with like a real server that sits in the corner, like even a basic server is going to start you off at $5,000 or something like that, and you won't be able to access it from anywhere or everywhere. I think Dropbox is awesome, and everybody should be using it.
Yes, hence the reason I think they just listed recently, had an IPO listing. I'm pretty sure. I think they did. I may be wrong, but I think their shares went pretty high. Well, they just purchased some. I'm getting that wrong. Anyway, too many things you read and I get confused. But Dropbox.com is the web address. Check it out. It's very, very cool.
Yes.
So we'll have the link in the show notes. And I think the next level up from free is about $10 a month for, I think it's 150 or 200 gig, something like that. So it's a pretty decent system. And of course Skype, which is what we are using to do this podcast.
Yes.
So we can be anywhere in the world talking to someone that's got a computer or internet connection and talk to them completely free if they're on Skype. Fantastic.
Yes. So we use it. Again, we don't have it. So like I said, we're 6 staff all over the place. So we use Skype to talk internally. So if you want to call someone, we call on Skype. So it replaces basically a phone system. So we don't have a phone system. We have Skype instead. So you can make free calls to other people on Skype. That's great. The other things you can do with it are you can top up the account and buy credits and call real phone numbers on Skype.
Yep.
So I can't remember what we pay, but I know it's free. We get unlimited free calls to landlines in Australia.
Yeah, landlines and a very decent rate on mobiles. You can also have a dedicated phone number in multiple countries. You can have different phone numbers for different countries. And that's relatively inexpensive. It costs about $40 or $50 a year to have a dedicated phone number. So my office number that I have on all my documentation and website and business cards is my Skype phone number. And I've had that for probably 7 years or something now. And that's great. So people can call that number and I can be anywhere in the world as long as I've got an internet connection, and I can receive phone calls from that person calling my landline number, so they don't even have to know where I am, and it can reach me. So it's very, very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And we use for some clients, because some clients don't have an office or they're on the road or whatever, they have a mobile business. So when customers come to the website, often they can be turned off if they see just a mobile phone number on the contact details. So we have clients buy like a landline number from Skype and then redirect it to their phone. It's also good if you use it in that way when you're on holidays, like over Christmas. Instead of having calls come through to you, like having the Skype number forwarded to your mobile, you can forward it through to voicemail and then get the voicemail via email. So it works well like that too.
The other thing about Skype that is very handy is if you're talking to clients on and off quite a lot, is that you can have conference calls with multiple clients. They can be anywhere in the world. So you could have a group conference call. You can drop and drag files into the chat section or the message section of Skype when you're talking to a person, and they can receive files that way as well. Wouldn't recommend sending very large files, but just some image files or spreadsheets or things like that. So that's very handy, a very quick way of doing it. So look, for the most part, Skype is free, but even the paid services are pretty inexpensive. So I've been using it for 10 years or so now, and my business would have been much harder to run without it. So Skype is a no-brainer, and I find it's very rare that someone doesn't actually have a Skype account these days. Very, very rare. So I think most people are aware of it. They may not be aware of the levels that they can use it. So if they're using the basic one, it's a good thing to look into for further expansion. Yeah.
So what do we got? So we got free calls, cheap calls, unlimited fixed rate calls, cheap SMSs, cheap international calls. You can buy additional phone numbers, virtual phone numbers for your business.
Yep.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, very, very cool. So
Skype.com.
Skype.com.
Cool, man. Next on the list, Evernote. Evernote.com.
Yeah, Evernote's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's like it started off as a note-taking application, but it's kind of like another thing like Dropbox. It's a bit of a Swiss Army knife. You can use it in lots of different ways. In our business, we use it as kind of like a digital filing cabinet. All our documents go into Evernote. So I have Evernote. So Evernote is free and it has a premium version. I use the premium version. Two main reasons. One, it has encryption and security. And the second one is it has a search function where I can put a scanned document, like a PDF document, into Evernote, and then Evernote will index that, and I can do a search, and Evernote can search text within that document. So for us, it's part of our paperless office solution. So all the documents go in there. If I ever need anything, I just look it up, do a search in Evernote, and it's there. It's awesome.
Cool. It's very good. And one of the things we did forget to say about all of these all of these tools, is that you can use them cross-platform. So whether you've got a Mac, PC, smartphone, whatever it is you're using, tablet, there's apps for all of those tools. So you can use it across all of those. And like with Skype, you can actually make calls on your mobile phone using the Skype app, even over 3G or wireless. So that's handy. But they synchronize with everything. So if you're using Evernote, if you save something through it on your phone, it's synchronized in the cloud on your Evernote account. So no matter where you're accessing it from, you can get the same stuff.
Yeah, and it connects to other apps. We'll talk about that when we talk about Shoebox. But other things can push documents into Evernote as well. Things like you can email documents straight across so they appear in Evernote. It does a whole bunch of stuff. It's awesome. I've been using it since like 2006. I've been using it. So there's so much stuff in there. And I have things like my birth certificate in there, my passport, my driver's license. So when I'm out and about and I need to, like if I'm filling in a form somewhere, if I need to know my passport number or need some sort of details, I can bring that up on my phone. I was at the post office the other day and picking up a package, and I didn't have my driver's license because it was being renewed, so I didn't have it on me, and I had no other ID, and I pulled up my driver's license scan on my phone, and the guy was happy to use that, so I pulled it out of Evernote. It was awesome.
Saved the day.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's cool. Look, a lot of people don't realise Evernote's been around since 2006, but it's a fairly old service, but it's just become a lot more useful with the integration of smartphones, etc. It's made it sort of really elevate to a different level. It's great for using, like if I use it for saving whole documents or websites, it'll save a whole site or content or all sorts of weird stuff it does. So,
yep.
Very handy tool. And as with a lot of these tools, and I'm probably guilty of just as the next person, no one uses it probably to the full extent of what it could be used for. Probably most people are using it for its very basic functionality, which is fine, but it can do a lot more, and there's a lot of quick little tricks you can do that people sort of discover and find out, and as I say, marrying Evernote with another tool or service like Shoebox, which we'll get onto next.
Well, that's next on my list. So those were our three foundation tools. So Dropbox, Skype, and Evernote. So then I've got my three more advanced tools. So the first one I have is Shoeboxed. So Shoebox with an ED on the end, .com. Now, this is the tool, like all these tools, they kind of, on the surface, they don't seem like they do much. But for me, all of them have been kind of game changer tools in both my business. So I think I use all of these in business and personally. They're the kind of things that they make things easier, but they make them easier over time. So while it's a little win today, I get that little win every time I need to do that task. So yeah, it's awesome like that. But Shoeboxed is basically a service that will take your documents, scan them into a computer. They also do some basic data entry. So I don't have paper in our business. Anytime I get paper, it goes into a shoebox envelope. So they have these prepaid envelopes, and you post them to their reply paid envelopes, stick them in the mail. They go to shoebox, they scan them into their system, and then it appears in a web console. I also have my shoebox account linked into Evernote. So anything that shoebox scan, it appears in the shoebox system, and they automatically put it in my Evernote too. So,
okay.
Like a perfect example of how we use shoebox is with invoices. So we have invoices from suppliers. They go into shoebox. So we have paper invoices. They go on an envelope. They go into shoebox. We also have email invoices that we email into shoebox, or we upload into shoebox as well. The shoebox guys scan the invoices. They also do some basic data entry. So they will, in their system, they will put the supplier's name in, the invoice, the dollar amount, and also our Xero is our accounting system. Chart of accounts is also in there, and they'll tag what type of expense it is. So then once a week we go through, we hit the export button, and it pushes those invoices into Xero. So because they do basic data entry, we cut a whole heap of bookkeeping time out as well.
Cool.
And I never have to handle paper. I can go straight into Evernote. I don't need a filing cabinet full of documents I need to refer to. If I ever need an invoice, I just go to Evernote, do a search, because they search all the text within the PDF. I can search anything and I can pull it out of my Evernote, whether I'm on the road or in front of the computer. It is awesome.
Very, very cool. And what about tax department issues, like if they want to see receipts and stuff? Do they send the receipts back to you?
You have two options. So once they scan it, you can have them send the receipts back to you, or you can have them shred them. Right. I have them send the receipts back, so I've got a big box full of shoeboxed envelopes, which I never ever open. They just sit there, they're archived. Every envelope has a serial number on it. But from what I understand, and speaking to my accountant, the electronic copy of the invoice is fine. So if you ever get audited and need to produce documents, you have them there in electronic format. So we actually have the files. So we pull the files out of shoebox and as well. So we have them saved, the PDF files saved in Dropbox, and we have them in Evernote. So if we ever get audited, or the ATO wants those documents, we can just print them out or email them or whatever. So I don't think that's a big issue. I've kind of toyed with the idea of having a document shredded, but occasionally, maybe once or twice a year, I need to find the actual paper document, because sometimes you just need the original of the document for whatever reason. So.
Okay. And and that is the originals that you're sending off in shoebox. So is there any risk of, well, I suppose there's always risk if you're mailing something that it could get lost, but you haven't had any issues?
I haven't had an issue yet. I mean, the risk would be now it's funny, people talk about risk when it comes to cloud, but they never think about the risk that already exists. So yes, there is risk of things getting lost in the mail. I haven't had anything lost, so touch wood, it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. But if I had all this paperwork hanging around my office, on my desk, in a drawer, I guarantee you I would lose some of it. So
absolutely. It's a minimal risk for the benefit and the upside of using it. So
it's massive. We pay. There's actually a free account that will do 5 documents a month. So I think we're on one of the middle accounts. It's something like $300 or $400 a year, which sounds like a lot of money on the surface, but if you think about it, they do all the data entry, or probably 90% of the data entry for our invoices. So while I pay them $300 or $400 a year, I would easily save $100, $200 a month on bookkeeping costs, because the data entry is already done and the paperwork's there. If my bookkeeper's missing something, we can just search it in Evernote. She has access to that as well, so she can search it. She can go into Shoebox and see what's gone on. So it's a little bit of cost, but by spending that money and actually using it properly, you'll easily save that on bookkeeping fees and the time spent just messing around trying to find paperwork.
That sounds like that could be a one-day workshop just in its own. How to tie in Evernote, Dropbox, Shoebox, and Xero.
Xero. Yeah, and it's like so. I ran an IT company for 8 years, and all the time we had clients who wanted to go paperless, and there was never a solution that could do it. And well, obviously I don't run my IT company anymore, but Shoebox is the first solution they've found that actually makes that paperless office dream a reality. And every solution we looked at back then required the office to have an expensive scanner that they had to work themselves, and then they needed expensive software and a server to run it on. Whereas I pay $300-400 a year to Shoebox. It's done. I'm paperless. Awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. I haven't gone that way yet, but every time I talk to you, I go, "Got to do that! Damn it! Got to do that!"
Shoebox.com. Just get in, man. Give it a try. They have a monthly plan as well, so you can get in, try for a month, see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Next on the list.
Another free one. Can't live without this. Tripit.com for managing travel. So we were just talking about the price of hotels in Perth before the call.
Yep.
And I'm coming across to Perth at the end of the week. And so I do a lot of travel for business, flying back and forth between Perth for our workshops and seeing clients and things. And I could not survive without Tripit. Basically, I book hotels and accommodation and flights. You book them online, and then you get sent email the itinerary. All I need to do is forward that email to plans@tripit.com, and they pick up the flight details, the date, time, all that sort of stuff. And I have a web console, and I have an app on my phone where I can see everything that's happening on my trip in a pretty console. It's all organized, all perfect and pretty. So
Right, so it's a complete trip schedule organizer itinerary.
Yeah, it's hard to explain how good it is until you use it. Like, if you weren't using it, you'd have all these different receipts from hotels. And so for this trip to Perth, I have booked a couple of flights. I booked 2 different hotels. I've booked car rental. So I'd have all different paper if I didn't have Tripit to tell me these things, or I'd have to put it in my calendar manually or whatever. With Tripit, I've just forwarded those receipts or confirmations across. They've taken care of it. And it's integrated with my calendar, so it automatically appears in my calendar within a few minutes as well. It's like having a virtual assistant for travel. I can't explain it, how good it is.
I personally have not used it. I've actually got the app on my phone. That's about as far as I've gotten. And I have spoken to many others that say it's a must-have service along, with the ones we're talking about, Dropbox, Skype, Evernote, Shoebox. It's in that category. So
get on board.
Yeah. So would you say it's for someone that it's even if you're just doing one trip a year, say you're planning a holiday, you could still use it for that, or is it more for people who do a lot of travel?
No, I'd say even if you do 1 or 2 trips a year, because there's nothing to do. Like, even to set up an account, all you have to do is forward one itinerary to plans@tripit.com. Forward an email to that, and it will set up an account automatically for you. It emails you back with your login and password. Like, it's that simple. Like, it's ridiculous. And then you just have it on your phone. You load up the phone, it syncs, it has everything.
Yeah,
I'll put a screenshot in the show notes.
Yeah, do that. And did you say it was paid or it was free or?
So it is free and paid. I'm on the free plan. The paid version has no benefit for me. So if I was in the US, there's I don't know how it works, but if an airline changes its ticket costs and the ticket cost goes down after you booked, you're eligible for a rebate. So the paid version does 2 things. It handles that rebate system where you can save money on flights or get a rebate from the airline. And it's also good for international flights. If there's flight changes, it doesn't happen so much in Australia, but cancellations and flight changes, it will automatically alert you because often the airline doesn't do it. So those are for me, there's no benefit really because they don't really apply. Those benefits don't really apply to Australians. So the free plan has done me fine. So
awesome, very cool. Yeah. And we had another one on the list, didn't we?
Well, I've actually added 2 more. So the next one I have is Google Apps.
Google Apps, of course. Yes.
Google Apps for email to start with, which Google Apps is Google's suite of products for business. I guess that's how you could explain it. And one of the things it does is cloud-based email or Gmail for business.
Yep.
The other thing that it's really good at that we use it for as well, and we have quite a few clients use it for, is a basic intranet solution. So again, in the past when I had my IT company, I had a lot of clients come to us and they wanted an intranet, like a central place where people can share. They can share like things like processes and checklists that the business use that they want everyone to have access to, but they want it to be secure and they want to be able to update it and all this sort of stuff. Google Apps, there's a whole bunch of solutions out there, but Google Apps is an easier to use solution that doesn't cost a whole bunch of money. It doesn't have a huge learning curve. Like, we have all our process documents inside Google Apps. So all our process documents are actually numbered. So if one of our staff has a question about something or they need to learn something, we just refer to the process document. Like, one of our guys today, I said, have a look at process P13, just responded to an email, so he can go look that up in our intranet. So I would say, number one, if you have like a traditional email solution where the email doesn't sync across all your devices, you probably should look at Google Apps for your email.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about that in the last episode.
Yep.
Number two, if you're not like storing your company process documents and checklists and things like that in a central place, or you have them on a network drive, it would be worth having a look at Google Apps to test that. See if it's for you. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And again, it has the same benefits as something like Dropbox or Evernote, where it's cloud-based completely, so you can access it through your phone, from your computer. As long as you have an internet connection, you can access it, but you can also access, correct me if I'm mistaken, the virtual drive on your computer, even if you don't have an internet connection. So you can actually access whatever's mirrored on your system at the same time. So, and then once it's reconnected, it will sync that document.
So it's like it's very different to using, say, if we had a network drive and Microsoft Word. It's very different from using that, like, because it's much faster. It updates in real time. So if I make an edit, if someone else has the document open, they see I'm editing it and it changes on their end. It has things like versioning, so I can see everyone who's edited a document, what they've changed. I can see old versions, so it has that kind of revision history. It has security, so I can have some staff be able to edit it, other staff only be able to view a document. Kind of does everything that you need in a basic intranet solution. I don't know why I see clients using something like Microsoft SharePoint where they're paying 10 or 20 grand for a basic intranet solution that's pretty rubbish, whereas Google Apps is so easy to use, so intuitive, very small learning curve. So.
Yeah, and very, very, very inexpensive compared to other options.
Yep, $5 a user a month, I think it is.
Yeah, that's just a joke, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Now, I have one more tool that I'd like to add.
Cool, man.
And people often ask me if there's one thing you couldn't do without, and this is one of them. And it is a password login management tool called LastPass, LastPass. And all the things we just talked about, one of the things they all have in common is they all need usernames and passwords to access them. And sometimes you forget what they are, and you don't want to use necessarily the same ones for all of them. So LastPass does two things. It enables you to, when you go to websites on a regular basis, and you're always logging into those, you can use one high quality or really good password to access all of those. There's all sorts of different levels of security you can set. If you're really paranoid, you can have multiple layers of login to get to it. But it enables you to just access, like I've got about 700 different sites with different passwords that I access on my LastPass account. So there's no way I'm going to remember all those in my head. And also form filling, credit card details, etc. So when you go to a page and you have one of those horrible forms you've got to fill out, you just click a button and it populates the form with all of your data. And instead of 5 minutes typing, you've got 5 seconds of clicking. So I could not do without LastPass, and it's a ridiculously expensive $12 a year for the professional version. So.
Awesome. I use 1Password. Same sort of thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
Same thing.
There's different ones. RoboForm. I actually first started using RoboForm about 10 years ago, which is another password storage protection system. But I much prefer LastPass. It's taken over from my use of RoboForm. But yeah, 1Pass, and yeah, there's several out there, but I definitely prefer LastPass. So that's going to keep people busy for a while, going to all those websites and signing up for accounts if they don't have them.
I've got two more. I've got some bonus ones.
Go for it.
When we were talking about Skype, I remembered I use another service in conjunction with Skype called Office HQ. So they are a virtual kind of like receptionist service. So
yes,
sometimes, depending on whether I'm busy or not, calls might get forwarded there. So that's officehq.com.au.
Yep.
So they do phone answering. So they have an Australian receptionist. So they have an Australian accent when they answer. They take calls. They can forward calls to you, or tell people that you're away, or whatever it is. So that works really well for me. It's worth checking out. I have a lot of friends I've referred to that as well as just a good call answering service. So that's officehq.com.au. And the other one is using Xero for accounting. So in my last business, we used MyOb, which was bloated and fat and slow and needed its own dedicated server because our data file got so big. But now I use Xero, which, as you know, Ed, I think you use that as well, or you use QuickBooks?
Yeah, well, we're still on MyOb. We're in the process of moving across. It hasn't happened yet.
So Xero, Xero, it's cloud accounting, and we have it connected because it's in the cloud. There's no software to update. It runs fast, and we have it connected to all of our other systems. So we have it plugged into our ticket system. So our ticket system automatically generates invoices in Xero, and we have our online ordering system connected in there as well. So people put orders through on our website, and it creates all the relevant stuff inside Xero. Mm-hmm. And then we have it connected to Shoebox. So like I said, invoices go into Shoebox, they get exported into Xero, so the transactions go into Xero, and inside Xero, if you open up a transaction, it links across to the scan of the document inside Shoebox.
Yep.
And what else? We use it, and we have it plugged into our contacts. So all our contacts, we have all these different systems. So we have Zendesk, Infusionsoft for our ordering system, we have Xero, and we have the contact records for all clients sync across those as well. So that would be the bonus tip. If you're looking at a new accounting system, Xero can save you a lot of time, money, headaches, all that sort of stuff.
All I can say after all that is let's just hope the internet doesn't collapse because we'd all be stuffed. And I remember back in the day, in the early days, late 1990s, early 2000s, when people were still saying the internet is a fad. Well, I hate to say it, but the world runs on the internet now, and
sure.
That's just a small slice of what's getting used on the internet, or requires an internet connection, but it's all cloud based. So
yeah,
so fantastic. That's going to keep people very, very busy.
Man. They don't seem like they're big wins, but when you try them, like in one of the cloud workshops, we talk about if you can use tools and technology to save you half an hour every day, that's 2.5 working weeks a year that you save. So
yep.
I reckon with these tools, you could easily save a couple of hours a day. So that could be 4 or 6 weeks of time saved with. I think half of them are free. I know we use the free version of these for a long time, and then the paid ones are still dirt cheap. So
yeah, I actually ran the last cloud workshop for our course last year, and there was about 30 people in it, I'm pretty sure, and I was quite surprised at how many did not use many of these tools. Like that was the first time they were hearing about them. So if you haven't heard of them before, great. You've got some interesting stuff to learn about. Don't try and jump in all at once because you might get overwhelmed. So
yeah, one at a time.
Yeah. So the first 2 or 3 that you would suggest, what would you, if you had to pick out of those? Hard one? Because they're all so tied together.
Yeah, they all do so many different things. I would say Dropbox for files because we don't have a server.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have Dropbox, my stuff wouldn't be backed up, and I wouldn't be able to share with any of our team.
Yep.
So I'd say Dropbox would be the first.
Skype.
And then probably Skype or Google Apps email.
Yeah. It's like saying it's a bit like saying to Brendan, who has if you had 5 children, pick a couple of your favourites. The rest we're sending off to the poorhouse. He couldn't do it. They're all so integrated, but they're also good and very hard to do without. So.
But they all the other thing about all this cloud stuff, they're all really geared around getting set up super quickly and very easily. Like it's as simple as like with TripIt, like you send an email and they automatically set you up an account. Like it's there's very little to do with the setup. Enter an email address, choose a password, download the app, and it kind of does everything.
Yes.
The hard part is I'd say the hardest part about using any of these would be integrating it into your workflow or changing your business processes, like something like Shoebox. The tools and technology around Shoebox are really simple. You take paperwork, shove it in an envelope and post it to them, but changing your whole bookkeeping process to integrate that is a much bigger piece. I think this is true of a lot of tech stuff. People get excited by the tools and they're really focused on getting tools and using tools, and there's a bit of a toy factor, I guess, but the hard work is usually the people stuff and changing how people work. Like change for a lot of people is hard. So I'd say the tools are really easy. Don't be scared by the tools or learning the technology. Focus on getting the people on board, and the kind of using the tools takes care of itself. Once you've sorted the people and show them the benefits, then they'll learn it, they'll use it, but you have to get them on board first.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. So, on that note, we have come to the end of our session. Thank you, Brendan, for sharing your knowledge on all of your tools. And on that note, we will catch everyone on the next episode.
Cool. Catch you.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
See ya. You've been listening to Business Marketing Show, episode number 2. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com or on iTunes. Just search for Business Marketing Show.